Shravan.
Well, in fact, let me straight away begin by the visuals that you see just behind me. I'll switch over the camera to just show you the kind of destruction that we have seen in Kyiv and Kyiv Oblast region. What you see just behind me right now, these are commercial shops in the Kyiv Oblast region that was attacked about a few days ago. This was before the Russians were actually booted out from these very areas. Remember, these areas were at some point in time where the control that you saw, the control that the Russians have had in areas that was just going inside Kyiv region. They wanted to enter Kyiv, but remember the Ukrainians have been very successful in ensuring that they move out. Take a look at these images that you see right now of the destruction that has actually taken place. And you take a look at this one building straight down the road. On the other side is this is not a commercial building, but rather a residential area which was basically targeted. Just take a look at the top part. The roof of that entire building has been just completely demolished. This is the impact of multiple that have actually taken place in the Kyiv Oblast region. But over the last few days, what we have essentially seen right now, things have actually changed. Things have actually changed in terms of how the Russians have changed their entire focus. Their entire focus is right now in the Donbas region, and they're looking at down south in places like Mykolaiv. In fact, Niranjan, we were trying to get inside Mykolaiv, but things seem to be changing right now. It's become far more volatile, and permissions haven't been granted to the press to really go in. I'll just take you through another place. Take a look at this, how these hedgehogs have all been placed here. And this is the condition of the very place after an attack has actually taken place. So this entire area, as you see, these are the checkpoints that have been created, the hedgehogs that have been placed so that tanks could not enter. But somewhere down the line, most of these places, urban areas where the Russians haven't been able to enter, what they have actually done, they've carried out these aerial bombardment. That's where their strength actually lies. And these are, as you see, the destruction and the damage that has been caused following multiple airstrikes that have actually taken place in the Kyiv Oblast region. Now, Irpin and Bucha, the mention that you actually made a short while back, in fact, that is now the turning point, because right now, just a short while back, President Volodymyr Zelensky has essentially said that this is a genocide that has been committed. This is committed by the Russians, simply because if you just take a look at what's happened in Irpin, what has happened in Bucha, you would see mass graves. There are mass graves that have been created. People have been lying on the road with their hands that are folded back, and they have been they have been point blank range. They have been shot at. So clearly that is the reason why today the Ukrainians are saying that it is high time that the West actually wakes up and realizes what the Russians have actually done in these very places. And those images, one would say, are extremely distressing to see, the kind of images, especially in today, in the 21st century, that you're looking at this kind of a warfare actually taking place, where women, children, all have been targeted. They were lying on the road. In fact, a short while back, the images that came in from Shazia's report also goes on to indicate how from those very places where the intense battle was taking place in the last few weeks of in those areas, we have seen how Russian equipments have been completely destroyed. There are tanks which are lying on the road. In fact, we have been told arms and ammunition have been left back. There have also been reports that they've moved towards Belarus. At least two very important units of the infantry units have gone back into Belarus, because the focus right now, when they've realized that they cannot go ahead with an initial plan of trying to capture Kyiv or other cities, they have realized that if they want a strategic win, the Russians want a strategic win, then they will have to shift their goalpost. And their goalpost has now gone back to areas which is considered to be their stronghold, that is the Donbas region, Donetsk and Luhansk region. And also what they're now trying to create is something called a Kherson People's Republic. Just on the lines of the Donetsk People's Republic and Luhansk People's Republic, you have a Kherson People's Republic to be created. And this morning, there's a clear giveaway by the Russians that they are now trying to focus in places like the port cities, Odessa, where the missile strikes have taken place. 6 missiles were fired from the Black Sea region and from Crimea itself, and destruction that was basically caused in an oil depot in Odessa, the very place from where Republic Media Network was actually reporting a few days ago. And we had already told our viewers that that's where the battle lies right now. The reason why we have basically come to these very areas is to kind of show you what's really happened when the war was actually taking place in the last few weeks. Things have changed. These major cities, Russians are no longer, there's no presence of the Russians. They have tried to lay down mines in most of the areas so that as the Ukrainians try to clear up those settlements, there would be more casualties that would be inflicted, and something that the Ukrainians do realize that this is going to actually happen. And that's the reason why the Ukrainian security services are basically going into places like Brovary, Bucha and Irpin, clearing up those areas so that people can return. But however, Ukrainians have been told not to return to Irpin because they are not very sure whether mines have been placed inside homes. There are homes inside which mines have been laid, so that if people try to enter, there would be more casualties that would be inflicted. And that's what the Russians essentially wanted. This is the reason why the Ukrainians are now saying that this is a genocide that has been committed by the Russian army, especially if you simply go by the images that have come to the fore. And one cannot deny that, because those are pictures that have come in from Irpin and Bucha, from where even our reporting team has gone inside, and we've seen those kind of distressing images that have come in. And look at what has really happened in most of these urban areas which have been completely destroyed. For the Ukrainians, this is going to be a real tough time. It's not going to be really easy for the Ukrainians to try and Take a look at this. This is a parlor which has now been completely damaged. Take a look at these glass shards that have been strewn all over. This is the image that we have seen over the last 40 days. We have covered almost about 40 such almost 20 such cities. In almost every city, this is the kind of destruction that has actually taken place, Niranjan. And we have documented almost all of them. So for the Russians to basically claim that the Ukrainian side would be a little, a little on the higher moral ground that they want to take. But clearly what we are seeing right now, at least in front of unfolding before our eyes, is completely different. Pictures do not lie. And this is what has actually happened to most of the cities in Ukraine. And what they have been successful is protecting these very cities. The reason why we've been also be able to come into these cities, because these cities have been recaptured. They've been recaptured by the Ukrainians. They have been very successful. Even in Chernobyl, Niranjan, this morning, the flag of the Ukraine was unfurled in Chernobyl nuclear plant, because the Russians have moved out from that very place also. Remember, not to forget, there was intense battle fight that was taking place in and around the Chernobyl nuclear plant area also.
Shawan, in fact,